What's up, college football addicts? Today we're going to talk about something that the ACC and the member teams who want to stay in the conference are desperately panicking over. For those of you who may have missed our recent videos, multiple media outlets are now confirming that ESPN has the power to unilaterally end the ACC in 2027. And when I say multiple media outlets, I'm not talking about random idiots posting on Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok. I'm talking about Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports and Josh Pate from 247. The deadline for ESPN to make this decision is February of 2025. We're less than 11 months away from that date. Now, if you caught our recent video, we told you guys that ESPN plans to leverage this to burn the ACC down. But after we explained everything, we heard back from several of you who asked us, why would ESPN choose to end the ACC? You guys said it didn't make sense to you. There are questions around they're getting a good deal on Florida State and Clemson right now in the ACC. Why would they pay more to have them in the SEC or another conference? Well, we appreciate you guys for asking that, and let us know when you aren't understanding something that we say. We read the comments. We try to respond to as many as we can. And when we're not clear on something, we'll make another video just like this one to try and answer that question. The answer to that question, or my answer to that question, is that there's a better question for you. Now that this is public and has been known for about 3 months, why hasn't ESPN announced that they're extending their contract? There's all this scuttlebutt and all this hullabaloo about all of this, and they could easily eliminate all of the fuss by just saying, yeah, we know that that's a concern. We're going to go ahead and extend our agreement. Why is ESPN sitting on their hands? And the truth is, this very question has the entire ACC in total panic. Sometimes you can say far more by not saying anything at all. And in this situation, ESPN's silence is absolutely deafening. The truth is, ESPN is using this deadline to put itself in the best financial position to make as much money as is humanly possible. And to do that, it is actively working on negotiating the best deal for the college football playoffs. ESPN is also actively working on making the SEC as valuable, even at the expense of the ACC. At this point, ESPN is leveraging the deadline to completely neutralize the ACC and keep them in line. ESPN is also actively working with the Big 10 to trade assets in order to maximize the possible value for both conferences at the expense of the ACC. So let me be perfectly clear about this. Ask yourselves, does it help the ACC that ESPN hasn't extended this contract, or does it hurt them? I think most of you would agree out there, it hurts the ACC. The uncertainty is not good. On the flip side of that, when you ask yourselves, does it help FSU, Clemson, North Carolina, and others that ESPN hasn't extended the contract, or does it hurt them? I think most people would agree. It helps those larger universities, those larger programs. Now, to some of your questions, let's continue talking about conference realignment by going into the mailbag. We haven't done this just yet, but maybe we'll continue this and start something new here. We absolutely love and appreciate when you guys share your thoughts and opinions on stuff. Whether you agree with me, disagree with me, call me out, call me a hater, call me a homer, say that I don't have any info, whatever. It doesn't matter. I appreciate your opinions and try to respond to as much as I possibly can. We plan on doing this more and more in the future, so make sure that you keep sharing your thoughts down below. Anyway, as far as the mailbag, first up here is Jamie, who posted the following. The fact that Brett Yormark has put in the negotiated college football playoff deal that's being worked on, that the Big 12 gets a revenue increase if it expands by 2028, tells you all that you need to know about the plans of ESPN for the ACC. Not like how FSU got done wasn't enough of a clue about how much ESPN cares for the ACC. ESPN is all in on the SEC and has tier 1, 2 for the Big 12. It's pretty obvious what they want to do. Get as many schools with value as they can into those two conferences and then pull the plug. First off, Jamie, thanks for posting. We didn't get to the whole post, but you guys can check it out down in the comments. Basically, I think Jamie is spot on with this. For those of you who missed it, the Big 12 commissioner requested an adjustment, a renegotiation to happen if any further conference realignment happens. I very much agree with Jamie's take on this. This tells me that the Big 12 feels pretty confident that they will retain their current assets and likely grow. Now, where can that growth come from? I think it's pretty clear there are teams in the ACC that probably fit best in the Big 10 or the SEC. And then there are teams in the ACC, not to disparage anybody, but that probably have a tier 2 level of investment in football. They have a tier 2 level of success, assets, worthiness of that tier 1, tier 2. They probably fit better in a Big 12 scenario. We're not here to call anybody out. I know that I always upset people when I say that this team will go here or that team will go there. You just figure it out for yourself. If you think your team belongs in tier 1, we'll make everybody happy and not call any names here, at least with this question. Next up, Ed, who posted the following in regards to the Yahoo Sports Ross Dellinger story. He said, Ross got that option totally backwards. Ross stated the ACC ESPN contract expires in 2036, which it does not. The grant of rights between the ACC and member schools expires either 2036 or when the ESPN ACC contract expires. Now, the media contract does not give ESPN an opt-out before 2036, but rather it is an opt-in to extend the media contract. Now, that option expired in 2021. However, ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips personally extended the option end date to February 2025 without the approval of member schools by a vote. Consequently, FSU is stating the option to extend the media contract to 2036 is now expired. That is part of the lawsuit. Ed, thank you very much for posting. You are absolutely correct with your assessment, I believe. I think Ross unintentionally missed the first part and left out some other of the info because it gets into the FSU weeds. It gets very deep into the legal argument that they're making right now. And I do want to point out, my boy Ross is spot on with most of his news, so don't hold it against him. With all that said, I think his thinking is right. Some of his facts and details are wrong. Thank you for clearing it up, Ed. I think you're spot on again with it. What we're arguing is not necessarily the FSU ACC agreement. It is the ACC ESPN agreement. How does that wind up? What happens by the time that we get to February 2025? And I appreciate you. Next up, Tar Heels 7406. Shout out to the Tar Heels. You guys share my stuff on the different message boards. I see it all the time. I don't necessarily check message boards a lot, but YouTube gives me the facts of where stuff ends up. And shout out, I know that we get a lot of Florida State. We get a lot of Clemson love on here. We get some Miami love on here as well, and some different schools around the ACC. Listen, I know that people devalue the Tar Heel brand, but you guys are always in the comments. You guys are always sharing it on Inside Carolina and other places. So shout out to you Tar Heel fans out there. I do appreciate it a ton. Tar Heels 7406 posted the following in regards to North Carolina and Clemson exiting the ACC. He said, nope. A, exploring legal options does not mean that litigation is certain. B, UNC and Clemson are very unlikely to use scorched earth tactics like FSU has done. C, UNC and Clemson have always understood the risk and the need. They don't approve of FSU's tactics. D, ESPN is not a party to the grant of rights. An early termination of the media deal may or may not negate the grant of rights. I maintain that once FSU pays whatever after its hostile path, the others with options will amicably settle for less as a part thereof. Tar Heels, my guy, thank you for posting this. I'm going to tell you one thing with absolute certainty. FSU, Clemson, and North Carolina, and really every other team, and ESPN are all acting on their own financial best interest. Clemson and North Carolina absolutely will not escape the ACC on discount because the same exact mechanism which springs FSU free is going to spring them all. I believe that FSU is negotiating everyone's exit right now, and FSU's legal counsel isn't stupid. Any agreement FSU signs will stipulate how these future arguments can augment it. With that said, I personally think that there's reasons that Clemson and North Carolina are attacking this in a much different way. We covered that in our last video. We covered why they're not going scorched earth. I don't think they need to go scorched earth. But I do think that at the end of the day, Clemson, North Carolina, any other team out there, university program, are doing what's best for them and their financial situation. They're not worried about what's best for the ACC long term. They're not worried about optics. They're not worried about, oh man, how will we look if this happens? I think they're doing what they think is best for them. I think they also want to see what happens with FSU. They want to see where and what is going down with this lawsuit. Because if Florida State gets out, it is very clear anyone else who wants to get out can just trod the same exact path that the Seminoles took. They can do the same exact thing that the Noles did, and they can be out as well. Will they want to? Well, I think they want to see what happens here. If Florida State was just getting bludgeoned on every single turn and it looked like they were probably going to lose their legal disputes, I think that would give UNC and Clemson and others pause. If it appears that Florida State will end up being successful, whether that's a negotiated settlement or just successful in court, I think it will give others an idea of how they want to proceed and attack. Finally, I want to take a quick moment to shout out CPN WEZE. I don't know how to say that, but I'm going to go ahead and just spell it out for you. You hit the nail on the head, and I want to give you credit where credit is due. Your comment was great. I'm not going to take the time to read every single comment, but you did a great job as well on this. Listen, this is nowhere done, and there are a lot of strong opinions, and I don't have a problem with strong opinions. So I'll agree with some of you. I'll disagree. That's okay. None of it's personal. I think there are a lot of interesting takes on all of this. I appreciate those of you who share this different places. I appreciate those that hit the subscribe button. I really enjoy these conversations. You guys bring up things that I haven't thought of covering. So please continue to do that. I'd love if you were subscribed. I'd love if you hit that thumbs up. But most of all, keep sharing your thoughts down below. It really does help. And we'll do more content like this where we directly address some of the things that you guys bring up. I appreciate you guys. I love doing this. Again, hit that subscribe button and make sure you're part of the family here at College Football Addiction.